This is Africa Online. This is Africa Online. And you might lose me because you might not be seeing me, but I have to do a few things here. Okay. So it is time to go. It is that time on Africa Online Media Corporation. As announced earlier last week or during the week, this week's topic is a sequel to Before You Say I Do. After uttering those two words, after lighting up with enthusiasm, and after accepting to tie the knot by walking into the marriage world, how and what should you do to keep that flame, to ensure that the flame keeps burning, and to ensure that it does not burn for one day, one night, 1 month, or 1 year, but that it burns for as long as we breathe? Some people will tell you that the job is done once you say I do. But truth be told, saying I do is just that proverbial first step on a lifetime's journey. As we continue this experience sharing journey, let us step up and tell what we need to do to fuel that flame lit with the words I do. What have you been doing to keep the love flame burning till the night of bliss and beyond? The debate door is open, and now here is the reflection from yours sincerely. It is already 10 days into November, and November 10 is National Forget-Me-Not Day. Wow. It is a day to remember family, to remember friends, and, take this, to remember loved ones. And how timely to zero in on our topic of the week after you say I do. But just a moment. Yesterday, November 9, was World Freedom Day, so called to mark the fall of the Berlin Wall. Known as the Iron Curtain, the Berlin Wall kept communism in and democratic governance out. This special day, therefore, commemorates the end of communism in Eastern and Central Europe. Back to our topic of the day in a way, marriage. After you say, I do. Otherwise stated, the topic is meant to tell us what to take into consideration before we accept to get married, to Marie, to John, or maybe just to Pompous. Whether we mean it or not, whether we intend it as a gold-digging exercise or a safari, the overall purpose of saying I do is to settle down with that man or woman who has haunted us in our dreams and sleep, and during our sleepwalking moments for so long, and just since, or maybe just since yesterday, it could depend. You might have seen him just yesterday and fell head over heels over him or her. Anyway, marriage, they say, is not for the faint-hearted. Neither is it for boys or girls. Marriage is for the adults, people matured enough to tell the good, the bad, and the ugly without calling mom or dad to the rescue. Nearly 50 years from my first and only I do, or do you, question, and that shy but resolute I do, I have come to realize that it is very important, as St. James says in the first chapter of his epistle, verses 19 through 21, and we quote, "My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. Therefore, get rid of all moral filth and the evil that is so prevalent, and humbly accepted the word planted in you, which can save you." End of that quote. So, after you say I do, as our topic today says and requires, remember one thing: both listen and silent are spelled with the same letters of the alphabet, but never have the same meaning. Be silent, therefore, and listen and be silent. As we did last week, we resort to the poetry spirit in us in today's reflection. When I do, she said, a garden she knew was about to see the light of day. But cultivating a brand new garden has never been a day's job. What with the bushes that must be cleared? What with the hoeing? What with picking the seeds that have to be planted? What with the weeding that would soon follow? And what with all the caring, keeping away rodents and other pests? What with keeping away birds, keeping away thieving humans? Keeping a garden of love verdant and attractive requires more than close attention and concern, requires more than nurturing and being available, requires constant hugging, requires every smile, requires all the love that in you dwells. Give it every morning, noon, and night, ensuring that going out and coming home are always filled with your undivided attention. So after you say, I do, remember that the grooming must be more focused and more intense than ever before. After you say, I do, remember that it is your actions, your attitude, and your savoir-faire that pilot the relationship. Pilot your boat of love. Look out for the rocks and the high waves. Care for your garden of love jealously and with understanding. For every human garden is as hard to plant as it is tedious to maintain. When and if you say, I do, spare yourself the urge to do marriage of circumstance and chance. Remember to be honest in your dialogue about the key issues. Remember that marriage, like a tree planted by the river, requires constant and untiring weeding as it bears fruit each and every season. For it is only in working hard and untiringly at it, at that post I do, will you avoid that journey towards disaster that has more often than not dashed many hopes and ruined most post I do's. It may not have been made in heaven, but a little patience, a few deep breaths, and a few offerings of the other cheek will sustain the togetherness and ensure happiness forever after. As we close this reflection, we must want to remind that November 11, that is tomorrow, is that day years ago when mankind's first global craziness came to an end. At 11 a.m. on 11/11/1918, World War I came to an end through a truce that turned into a permanent ceasefire. November 11, 1918 is a historic day worth remembering. In America, it is called Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day to all veterans. You do not have to have been at war. You just have to have been a specialist or have developed that enduring spirit in what you have done all your life. You are a veteran in your own right. Happy Veterans Day. And let's go back to our topic after you say, I do. So, Reverend Palm, Sylvia, welcome to the show this Sunday. And please, let's get the ball rolling. Whose turn first? Reverend Palm, Houston, or Sylvia, Dallas?
Actually, Reverend Pam is with Sylvia in Dallas.
Oh, okay.
That's my beloved sister. Of course, Sister Sylvia, welcome again. We have our brother John that is joining us, but I think his audio just went off. I just sent him a message to turn back his audio. His video was on earlier. So, yes. Brother John, if you can hear me, we need you to turn on your audio. You don't have to turn on your video, but we saw you earlier. So once you come on board, we'll give you airtime. But Sister Sylvia, I have a lot to say about this topic because I also counsel married couple, but I want to give the airway to my big sis. Sis, take it away.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's a
pleasure. I like that smile on your face.
Oh, by the way, we are streaming live on Facebook.
Thank you. That's great.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much again for this opportunity. I'm really starting to enjoy what we're talking about. Last week was exhilarating. It was electrifying. Yes. And it's right on point. I mean, the questions he asks and the points he makes. I mean, I just love the way you narrate things. And you sound like a professional historian, so to speak, a storyteller.
He's more than that. Believe me, he's a journalistic icon, legend.
Oh,
thank
I know.
You so much. Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
So anyway, it's a pleasure to be in your presence again, the two of you, and thank you again for this opportunity. After I say I do, a lot of young ladies have come back to me and said, Auntie Sylvia, You teach us about how to do this and how to do that and how to be this and how to be that. And you make the marriage sound like it's all a bed of roses. But you've never come back to tell us that there's bad in the marriages. I look at these kids and I smile. If I told you that there's bad in the marriage, would you have gotten married? Hell no, I don't get married. I said, you see, I don't tell you. I said, marriage is an institution, okay? It's the only institution in the world that makes you write your own history, your own notes, and your own everything about yourself.
Yes.
You cannot tell me to say so-and-so's marriage is better than this. You can't, because you're an individual. All of you write your own history. You write your own marriage, you write your own story, you're in your own classroom as husband and wife. So I look at marriage this way, after I say I do. The biggest thing that I find that the young couples, let me just say both men and women, is there's a lot of intolerance and a lot of impatience. And what they don't understand is the next thing after that marriage, if they don't already have children, is children are going to come. Now, as a married couple, you are supposed to honor one another, because that vow, I know one of the major vows says honor your spouse, right? Love and cherish one another. So when they start all this bickering and fighting, it turns the marriage into a war zone. So my advice is like this: after I say I do, if you haven't taken the time to know one another, which I hope you will have done so, is take the time to talk, find out who he is, find out who she is. If you have found out in the past and have not lived together, this is the time now to start discovering one another. Your likes, dislikes, the nuances, the pet peeves. My biggest pet peeve is leaving the toilet up. I can't just stand that. I can't stand the kitchen being left dirty. I just lose it. I'm serious. I lose it.
Yeah.
Everything else can be in disarray. But if my kitchen is a mess and the toilet is up, I don't care how much you swept the house is still dirty.
Yeah.
So we have to be tolerant and patient as a couple, with one another. A lot of wives, when we are mad at our husbands, we want to starve them sexually. Well, guess what? You starve him, he's going to look for somebody else for you to give it to him, right?
That's right.
Don't be foolish, you young ladies out there. You're not the only one who has that small hole between your legs. There are a lot of...
Lord.
We got to realize this. We're not the only pretty petals out there. Yes, your husband has chosen you. There's a reason why he chose you and he didn't choose Mama Sylvia. So just for that fact, give him that respect. Don't leave that bed. Don't go to bed angry. It's like a child. When your child makes a mistake, when you have children, and you smack him, do you disown him and throw him outside, the 5-year-old?
Not at all.
What do you do to him? You admonish him, you talk to him either in anger or in love. No, son, or daughter, you cannot do this. You cannot say this. This is embarrassing in front of people. Same thing with your husband or your spouse. Baby, I don't like what you did yesterday. You know what my husband used to do to me when I made a mistake in public? He would never, ever open his mouth and tell me I made a mistake. When I got home, the first thing he would do is he would tap his lap, like, come and sit here. The minute he did that, I know I was in trouble. I did something wrong. And my heart would start racing. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? You understand? But he spoke to me with so much love, so much respect that when he finished talking to me, he would even say, okay, now go put on that little red dress that I got you. Let's go out and eat. He was never in a voice. And because I talk so much, I used to run my mouth, even when there's no need to run my mouth, just to get his attention. So women, stop running your mouth so much. You chase those men away from your homes. Be nice, be sweet. Mama used to say, there's so many ways to kill a cat, and there's so many ways to trap a bee. Put that honey on your tongue and let that man come and suck that honey. You like it and sweeter.
Thank you so much for that introductory remark. Reverend Pam, you also counsel women and men who are in this thing called marriage. So what do you tell those who come in and tell you, oh, I can't bear it anymore? And before you go, let me just say this from the Bangwa experience. We say in Bangwa that if a child does her thing or his thing on your leg, you don't cut off your leg because the child did that. You instead welcome the child. So no matter what the man or the woman does, please be tolerant, Reverend Pam.
Yes, we are. I want to acknowledge our brother John. Brother John, we can see you, but can you hear me? Just wave if you can hear me. Brother John, can you hear me? Brother John, we see you.
Okay.
He's having issues with his
video, audio.
John Amokadi is on, and then we just have somebody join from 240. The person just dropped again. Maybe Brother John is having. Brother John, you might want to turn your audio and then off your video. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Your audio is off. Brother John, your audio is off. But anyway,
you may want to text.
Maybe no, I am. I'm chatting with him online. You know, so
okay, all right.
I don't have his number, but anyway, Sister Sylvia, thank you so much. That was loaded. That was loaded. I hope and that was raw. So I'm glad she's on this show. you know this thing. In this day and age, a lot of people get into marriage, especially in the diaspora, for the wrong reason. Most of them get into it for economic stability.
Mm-hmm.
So, some people, you know, they might marry a guy because he's tall, dark, and handsome, V-shaped. My dear sisters, my dear daughters, believe me, that V-shape is going to change. A few years down the road, they're going to have pot bellies, depending on what you're feeding them, depending on what they're going through. Some of the men marry the girls because of figure eights. Take good pictures. When the babies come, after the first baby, the second baby, the third baby, maybe even after the first baby, you'll be looking for that figure eight. You will not find it. You'll be seeing figure five. Yes. So be careful. You know, to be honest with you, you need to court. I know we talked about before you say I do. However, during courtship, people will show you what they want you to see. Maybe the courtship is 2 years or 6 months. When you get home, after you say I do, the real person will show up. Sometimes it shows up after 30 years. Why do you think people are divorcing after 30 years? Even in ministry, the divorce rate in ministry among Christians is the same as outside among non-Christians. Why? It has to be a decision. It has to be a decision. And me as a servant of God, I tell people Christ has to be the foundation. There's something called agape, unconditional love, which means that I love you in spite of you, which means that I love you whether your figure changes from size 8 to size 0, I will still love you. And if I don't like the way you look, I will help you. I will help exercise with you. I don't know how many of you saw the Tyler Perry's movie, Why Did I Get Married To, where Jill Scott played this overweight wife. And the husband not only cheated on her with her best friends, but humiliated her publicly. Even on the plane, they had to take her off the plane because she was too big. She was occupying more than one seat. And he humiliated her in public and in private. But then after, you know, she found out that the husband was cheating with her best friend, you know, the Lord brought the sheriff into her life, and the sheriff walked out with her. And the same husband that had treated this woman so bad saw her and he could not believe it. And then he regretted because the grass was not greener on the other side. This woman was a good woman. Unfortunately, when you see people, you don't see their character. So, brothers and sisters, we have to look good. This weight thing, fat is ugly. Don't let anybody tell you, oh, you know, you have a pretty face. What about the rest of the body? We eat a lot of times people get married, then they just throw themselves the same things they were doing before they got married to keep the man, you know, enticed. They stop doing it. They get married. I mean, they get up in the morning just looking, put on this big boo-boo outfit. They don't wear the same things that they were wearing before they got married or during the honeymoon. And then there's another girl, you know, like Sylvia was saying, taking time to make up herself, dress up before going out. And then your husband's eyes are wandering and you wonder why. You cannot keep their eyes from wandering, you know. But again, it's a decision. And Christ needs to be the foundation, because let me tell you, even the sex will change. I've never been married, so I'm not speaking from personal experience, but I'm speaking from experience counseling married people. The appearance will change. The bank account will change. It might change for the better, or it might change for the worse. What happens when the car is repossessed? What happens when the house is foreclosed on? What happens? What is going to glue is what the foundation is. I want to give time to our brother John. Brother John, your audio is on, so I'll come back, but let's give you time.
Welcome to the program, Brother John. Brother John, we are calling on you now. This is Africa Online Media Corporation. The topic, after you say, I do, what should you do to maintain the garden as fresh and as green as you want it to be? Brother John, you have the microphone.
Brother John, can you hear us? Brother John, I know there's some noise coming from your background.
Yeah, the people in the house are talking, but I hope that Brother John will come on and answer the questions or participate in this program. After you say, I do, what next should you do to keep the garden as green and as fresh as it was supposed to be?
Okay,
I know that.
Yeah, he just muted. I will text him. But let's go. Let's pose a question to Sister Sylvia. Let me text Brother John.
Yes, before I ask the question, Sister Sylvia, let me say this. Some men, especially, think that the tree will always be as straight as it was meant to be. Some men forget that after 1, 2, 3 years or 1, 2, 3 children, the standing chest that you admired from the beginning begins to go south, and you begin to wonder, is this the same lady? We have to know those physical and psychological changes that occur, especially the physical changes. Reverend Pam mentioned the figure 8. Figure 8 turns into the mommy Coca-Cola bottle, and you begin to wonder, what am I doing? So the big Coca-Cola bottle, you got the small Coca-Cola bottle, it has developed into the big Coca-Cola bottle. That is not what you wanted. But man, know that that is development. Childbearing and growth and development in general are contributory to those factors. So don't blame the woman, except of course, you saw her doing things that she ought not to do, eating more than she ought to eat or something like that. But Sister Sylvia, tell me, after you say I do, with all the good talks that you mentioned before, what else should the man or the woman look out for in that person in whom they trusted from day one?
Well, like you said, and Reverend Pam also said the same thing. The biggest challenge that us women have is we become very complacent once we get married. They wake up in the morning with drool all over their mouth. Probably the eyelashes, one eyebrow is not there. Maybe there's boogers going this way. The husband, if she doesn't work, and I'm just talking about as an example, I'm not saying it's everybody. In the olden days when we were growing up, your husband would come back home from work or from wherever, from school, and found you looking like you just stepped out of Vogue magazine. Am I wrong, Reverend Pam?
No, you're not.
We would make sure the time your husband left that you are looking good. The time your husband comes back, you're still looking good. And the reason we did that was because we knew that our competition was very stiff out there in the offices, especially if you were a stay-at-home mom. Your husband is looking at all those figure 8s and those legs gazelles and the necks like giraffes, and they got all that lipstick from here to Timbuktu and the eyelashes from here to Congo Zaire or something like that. You understand? So these men also, they got their eyes all over, trying to check out these women, and their adrenaline is pumping. They're getting excited about what they're seeing. Do you honestly think that if your husband comes home to you and finds you in that nasty, nasty gray t-shirt, which you used to wear when you were in college, it's stained, it's got holes in it, it's even got rips everywhere where there shouldn't be rips, probably an oil in front of the chest. Honestly, your husband has been gone all day. He comes home at 5 and finds you like that. Will he want to make love to you? Will he want to kiss? He may hug you because it's an obligation, but will honestly want to kiss you when you got boogers looking on your face? You haven't even brushed your teeth all day. You've been home just eating popcorn and chips and whatever else on that couch. Now, as women, a lot of times the ladies even that are married will say, why is it that always women have to do what we have to do? Unfortunately, truth be known, the ratio between men and women is like 4 women to 1 man, if I'm not mistaken. So men usually have their pick of the litter. So when they choose you to be a wife, when they choose you to be a woman in their lives, or permanent partner or companion, rather, let me just say wife, I shouldn't say it's a privilege, but you should consider yourself blessed because he chose you out of the 10,000 people, the 10,000 women that are there. Your house also has to be clean. Your bathrooms have to be clean. You yourself, number 1, has to be clean. When hubby comes home, even if you work, we all corporaticians out there. At least make a small meal. On the weekend, if you're off, I used to cook a lot of meals on the weekend, label them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, even write the name of whatever it was that I cooked so that when he comes home, he doesn't have to come home and cook. The food is ready. Now, men also, it's not always about you. You have to also get off those high horses and realize that your woman too is a human being with blood running in her veins. She needs your help in the house. You understand? You can't be sitting there chewing that chew stick in your mouth all day long and demanding, get me this, get me that, get me, the house is filthy, or the children are dirty, or the food this morning was not right. Surely you're going to say that to your wife and you're sitting on your, you know what?
Thank you for not saying it.
Yeah, I watched myself because of the comment you made the first time. So
that's okay.
Men also need to understand and realize that us women need their help in the household and with our children. Unfortunately, the statistics are so bad and so high that most of our Black men, and I'm going to use the word Black, I am Black and proud, don't get me wrong. I am a Black woman, African, born and raised in Africa, and I'm very proud to be an African woman. Don't get me wrong now.
Yes.
But our Black men, statistically speaking, most of them are in jails. Now, those that are out here, why don't you turn the script and make us as proud wives, proud mothers, and proud women to have us call you as your husbands? Stop all this hoeing around and going outside and sleeping with this and sleeping with that. Tell us, your wives, the mistakes we are making in our home so we can change or improve ourselves. Now, stop running to your sisters and reporting your wife to your sisters. Then your sisters come and make wahala for your wife in the house, yelling and screaming at her. Pack your bags. This is my brother's house. If you are a woman, stop it, because you also are going to get married to some man. And if those sisters come and do the same to you, what are we creating for our children or our future?
Exactly.
We need to respect each other as women. We need to respect each other as husband and wives, should I say. Those of you who are polygamous, those of you who are monogamous, so long as you have a woman by your side, respect her, teach her your likes, teach her what you like, what you don't like, but stop all this yelling, being abusive and calling names, because it's not fair. You're not perfect yourselves either. So learn to tolerate one another, learn to feel for one another, and learn to be each other's keeper. If I, as your wife, make a mistake, admonition me in a good way. Don't be yelling and screaming and telling me just like your mama, this and that, because you don't know my mama.
Exactly.
So mind your mouth, because I'll cuss your mother, the mother out more than you cuss my mother. Yeah. So that's my 2 cents. And help with those raising of the children. Don't always say it's the wife's duty, because it's not. I didn't make that child by myself. You had to get to plant your seed to get that child. So that child is equally your responsibility. If not more, you as a father should do more, because I carried that child for 9 months while you did nothing. You ate, you drank while I threw up, I got sick, I fell, I sleepless
night. Make it plain. Preach it, sister. Preach it, God.
Great.
Yeah,
now,
so we have a JS on the line, on the air.
Can the person please come in and take part in the conversation? We need every voice to be heard.
And Brother John, can you hear me, Brother John? You are still muted. Brother John, we're still trying to get you on. Try pressing, is it *6 to unmute your phone? We see your video. JS, your video is muted.
We can see somebody there, but we are not hearing. Please, that was Sylvia's hand. No, okay. JS, please, somebody needs to come in and say something.
No, we're just letting them know it's not mandatory, but I know Brother John is having technical difficulties. Brother John, can you hear me? We can't hear you.
I think Brother John just came in to listen. He's one of my people that I streamed in. I told him to listen in.
No, but he's chatting with me. He's trying to get on, but he's having technical difficulties. He's trying to unmute the phone.
Okay.
But, go ahead.
Now, to keep the conversation going, Sylvia and the Reverend Pam, why is it that during courtship, things are so rosy, but once after you say, I do, and then the night of bliss passes, the honeymoon is over, we are now married, living as husband and wife, why do things suddenly change? Is it that people hide their true selves during courtship and then become the devils that they never showed during marriage? Should it be like that? Is that a welcome thing?
Well, okay, Sister Sylvia, go ahead, then I'll come after you.
No, I don't think that's a welcome thing. This is what Reverend had alluded to a few minutes ago. She said, and I think if I can quote her, she said, a lot of times the real me does not come out until something pushes me to become the true me. In other words, all of us have tempers and all of us have a dark side to us. Now, when you say I do with somebody, and this is why last week I believe we spent a little time talking about how much time is enough time for dating or for courtship, correct?
Yes.
And we had also concluded that 6 months would be a minimum on the courtship level, at least for one to assure him or herself that I do know this person. Now, once you get married and then the demons come out of you, then there's something that you didn't do right. Because one, they always say, let me just take a step back. They always say the first 5 years of marriage, okay. Yeah. The first 5 years of marriage are the hardest parts of a marriage. Once you go through the first 5 years, then you know that the rest of it is plain sailing. So when we find out that our friends, our partners, rather, our husbands or our wives that we have been married to are different or are coming through differently, that is being a hypocrite, because he or she did not show you who they truly are. And when they come out during this time now when you're married, guess what? You know that the marriage is doomed. It's not going to go anywhere. We have a lot of advisors. Reverend Pam is a counselor. I'm a life coach. We are able to talk to you. We're able to point out certain things in life that might help you, get into your system or way of life that you would want to live. Because with the way that people are, we are very fictitious sometimes. And we're very fake, because I want you so bad. I'm gonna have you no matter what. And once I have you, then I show you my true colors. Oh, you were showing off when I was courting you. Now let me show you that I'm the big man. You were doing this when I was courting you. Now let me do this because now I'm the big man. We can't have that in a marriage. A marriage has to be mutual. A marriage has to be consensual. And the marriage has to be loving. Sorry, I gotta step out for a minute. 1 second.
Okay.
Reverend, take over for a minute.
Problem.
Yeah,
Sure,
I gotta get into the car. car.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes.
Brother John is back. I'm asking him to unmute. Brother John,
Yes.
we really want to hear from you. I know you want to participate because you had your hands up. I'm not able to unmute you, but please unmute yourself by pressing *6. But what Sister Sylvia is saying is so true. But there's one scripture I want to put in here. That's Ephesians 5 from verse 21 to 25. A lot of people like to, especially men, they like to quote verse 22, where it says, "Wives, submit yourself to your own husband." And I want to make it your own husband, because there are some men who think every woman should submit unto them. But I want to draw everybody's attention to verse 21 of that scripture and verse 25. I keep telling people God is so smart. God had to mention in verse 21 that husband and wife have to submit one unto another. The husband has to submit to the wife has to submit to the husband. Before going into verse 22, saying wife should submit unto the husband. And then in verse 25, God commands the husband to love the wife the way Christ loved the church and gave his life for the church. Okay, there are men that want the wife to be submissive, but are you willing to die for that woman? Those of you, and I like to watch movies, so I always go back to movies. Those of you who have watched Coming to America, I hope everybody here has. You remember when Eric Lassard, that's his real name, I don't remember his name in the movie, but when Samuel L. Jackson showed up at the McDonald's with a gun to hold up the place, and Eric ducked. He went to get coffee. He took cover. He did not protect Sherry Hadley. Sherry Hadley is her real name. I don't remember her name in the movie. Eddie Murphy, who was pretending to be a pauper, is the one that tackled the gunman. This guy was not willing to die or even protect his wife. But then he wanted to marry the woman. So ask yourself, it's give and take. You know, God created man and woman in his own image. Let nobody think that for 1 minute that women are inferior. As a matter of fact, men, if you all had it together, God would not have needed to create Eve. But when he created Adam, he realized Adam was lost without Eve. and he put Adam to sleep. So Adam did not have to go to a nightclub to go find Eve. Adam did not look at Eve's figure. Adam did not use a dating website. Adam did not even place his case or use a pickup line with Eve. Adam was asleep under spiritual anesthesia. And when God created Eve and brought Eve to Adam, Adam was just fell in love. He was just speechless.
Yes, and he welcomed her, flesh of my flesh, bone of my bones. That is welcoming open-handedly, open-mindedly the creation God had brought to him.
Exactly. So my advice is seek the face of God. You know, especially those of you who think you are good looking or who know you are good looking, and those who think they are beautiful or who know they are beautiful. Let me tell you, there's always somebody more good looking than you. There's always somebody more beautiful than you. There's always somebody more somebody smarter than you. There's always somebody wealthier than you. There's always going to be somebody that is one level higher than you. Your elevator may be on level 5. There's always level 6, 7, 8. The elevators don't stop at level 5. But what I'm trying to say is compromise and you make up your mind. You can make up your mind after you get married to this person and you see some metamorphosis happen. With a character, let me tell you something. After the age of 40, you cannot change somebody's character. You as a human being, don't marry anybody thinking that you will change them. If you're a woman and you're dating a he-goat, when you marry that guy, he will remain a he-goat unless he have a experience with Christ. He gets changed by the Lord. So if this guy is a playboy, don't think you're going to change him after you get married to him. He showed you who he was when you guys were dating, and you still foolishly said, yes, I do, and then you are complaining. No way. No way. So it's a compromise. But again, I keep saying, get on your knees and pray. There's nothing that God cannot do. And then,
amen.
Yes, I want to mention something about all these things that call midlife crisis. I don't know who came up with that nonsense where after 30 years of marriage or 20 years of marriage,
that nonsense, eh?
And then it says midlife crisis. Who told you that? Don't stop using that as an excuse to cheat on your wife. A woman build with you. You know, after you guys have raised up your kids, when it's time for you guys to become empty nesters and start having fun, you go and look for a woman that is 20 years younger than your wife.
To reap where she didn't sow.
Exactly. You know, so again, to me, my solution is seek the face of God. I've seen it happen. All right.
Amen.
And that being said, Sylvia and Reverend Pam, isn't it true that by abandoning your garden, by not watering it, by not weeding it, you go out there to look for a new garden? You are instead inviting high blood pressure and all other stress onto yourself.
Yes.
Is that not true?
That's
so why go
true.
looking for a 20-year-old when your old banana in the house is sweeter than that that apple you saw at the corner of the street? Why?
Oh my God, I've never heard that one.
I'm a man, but I don't like those things. I mean, it's good to stick with the banana you've been eating for the past 20 years. It will always be sweet. No matter what happens, the years do not change the taste. That's my take on that.
You know, the foolishness of most of you men is that you think that you're not growing old. But remember, you are at your peak during your 20s and 30s and 40s. Come 50, you start going downstream. Unlike women, when we reach menopause, we also turn around and become now like we're 15, 16-year-old young ladies. Now we want that strong man, to be our partner. So don't forget that if you start writing this script of where you want to be going out there looking for the 14, 15, some pedophiles out there that like to sleep with 14, 15-year-olds.
Yeah.
You go to a 21. Let me give you an example of something I heard. My grandfather's friend told me the story. He said he had 3 wives who were, his in his age groups. Then somehow, somewhere, he learned how to go to town. By accident, he found himself in town and noticed that in town there were all these little, sweet 16s and 2016s and whatever. So he started dating this 18-year-old. He was 62.
Oh,
he was dating
God.
this 18-year-old and eating, those
the
African Viagra. Let me call it African Viagra for a better choice of words.
Bitter cola.
Okay, is that it?
Bitter cola.
You talk about bitter cola.
That's what.
If it's bitter cola, but in different, in
Yeah, it
different
has
countries
different
it's called a
names.
different name. Yes,
Yeah,
but
that's
anyway,
right.
whatever it is that the men used to, for to get themselves going and stuff like that. Don't you know that he moved this 18-year-old into his village, into his main house? The first three wives had never lived in his main house. Each of them had their own house, but around his house. So he gave privilege to this one, and she started sleeping in his house and doing everything. He stopped eating food from the other women. Do you know what happened to him one night?
No.
He was making love to that old lady. He died.
Your audio.
Well, we're losing you.
The three came to harass her. Oh, you're losing me?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Repeat what happened to him at night. I suspected he died.
Okay. When he was making love to this woman, the 18-year-old, okay, right after he ejaculated, he died on top of her.
Uh-huh.
And she was suffocating underneath his weight because he was much bigger than she was.
Uh-huh.
Believe it or not, she ended up with 4 broken ribs.
Uh-huh.
Oh no!
And a dislocated right shoulder bone. So when the 3 wives came, they realized their husband hadn't come out in the morning. They found that he was dead on top of her, and they started beating her up. She says, "No, you have no right to beat me up. You 3 should be happy that he died happy."
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. You should be happy that you
He
people
died
never
happy.
made him happy. He complained. Yeah, he complained about you all, saying none of you like to satisfy him like I do. That's why he brought me into the main house. So I'm sharing this to say, the grass is never greener on the other side. He died. Indeed, he was having fun. But he had a heart attack, a massive heart attack, because this young tenderoni was too much for his weak 60, 62-year-old heart.
Yeah.
He lost his life because of her. Because even when the doctors did the autopsy or whatever, they said no. Yeah, there was too much. Yeah, they said there was too much stress. There's a word they used on saying that shows how stressed the heart was at the time.
Yeah.
So now all that what you call it, bitter cola. Let's use that word, bitter cola. It went in vain.
It went in vain.
And be careful with the bitter cola. Bitter cola will not prevent you from having a heart attack.
No, it won't. In fact, it exacerbates it. It exacerbates it because it's like almost a caffeine that raises your heart rate.
Uh-huh.
So these men have to be careful. Then secondly, I don't believe in these men taking Viagra and whatever. The woman is a natural Viagra for a man. Trust me.
There you go.
I teach that class too.
Uh-huh.
If a man says he has ED, send him to me. You understand?
Oh,
if a man says he has ED, send him to me with his wife and I'll show her what to do.
Can I just say something, Sister Sylvia? Can I just say something?
Yes, ma'am.
We are actually handling sexual dysfunction at the end of this month. Isn't that something?
That's
I just texted about an hour ago, right before.
Yes. What a coincidence.
It's not. Yeah. Look,
yeah.
I am getting pumped up now. This is amazing.
Yes.
I am pumped up. I got up this morning with sore throat, but now you got me because we just agreed that we're going to discuss sexual dysfunction as our health topic at the end of every month. We've been doing this for 3 years,
Excellent.
That topic, and we're
excellent.
Sexual dysfunction. So now we're going to have you, and in addition to our doctor.
I just stuck my foot in my mouth, didn't I?
Yeah, you did a good job. You did a good job, and you are doing a good job. Thank you.
Yeah. So anyway, just to conclude what I was saying, with our men, they should also understand that when women reach age 50, I believe early menopause starts as early as 30 or 35. I know some young ladies who've reached early menopause, but on the natural, it's usually 50 and 55 and above. So when a woman reaches menopause, it's 2 ways. She either goes on the left wing where she says, hey, don't touch me, don't mess with me. Otherwise, between there, we'll not have any equipment tomorrow. You understand? Or the other one goes on the other side.
We're losing, I think you're
signal. Again. Yeah, the signal.
Now, if roles were reversed, you lost me?
Yes. No, go ahead. Okay. We'll get you now.
So if let's say roles were reversed, those of us who are in the 60s right now, 50s and 60s, and we start looking for small tenderoni boys, how's it going to make you the husband that is 60 years old that cannot satisfy me sexually? Will that be a fair assessment for?
Yeah, she's driving, so there might
she's driving.
Absolutely not.
It looks like you're driving, though. Yeah,
yes, I am.
We're losing you from time to time.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so what I was saying is, it wouldn't be fair, even now for you men, you need to stop the nonsense of sleeping around. Because one, you endanger your wives with those diseases that you bring.
Exactly.
And then number two, you come and stress her with the new bedmatics that you learn from those little 18-year-old tenderonis.
Bedmatics, that's a new one.
Yeah, bedmatics.
That's a new one.
That's my own. That's how I teach when I'm teaching these young ladies. I call it bedmatics.
Yeah.
You know, there's over 150 positions of making love in this world. You know that. There's over 150 styles of making love in this world. Yes, I'm very serious. And I teach them too. So, you men out there, if your women you're having trouble with your women satisfying you, the doc has my number. Call me. You know, I teach this thing.
Exactly.
Stop stepping outside and blaming your wife for everything when you yourself maybe a short little shrimp. You can't satisfy your wife. You're the one blaming your wife. Huh? Maybe your reach is not deep enough. It's too short and it can't reach the pit, the pit of honey. You understand? So you men, stop blaming women all the time because your little pencils may be too small to satisfy the woman.
Oh, Lord.
So stop finding excuses when you go out there and find a little 8-year-old who's tight. You're forgetting we had children? When you have a child, things change a little bit down there. Even though there are ways that we can bring ourselves back, but it's never the same as a virgin. So stop that nonsense, you men. You made us like that. You penetrated me. You took away my virginity. You gave me those children. So keep me the way I am. You damaged me. Who is going to take me as damaged goods after yourself? Men, stop that nonsense and love your wives.
That leads us, Sylvia, to ask this question. What about the other side of the coin? It's always every coin has two sides. You're talking more about the men than about the women. What about the women? What about that lady who climbs in bed and turns her back and faces the wall?
I like that one. I'm loving that one. You know, sometimes you men also, you push us against the wall. You have to admit, you are so sometimes you're so nonsensical and nauseating that you're full of total disrespect for women. You understand? When you disrespect me, I will not cook for you and I will not give you what you want. You understand? Learn to say sorry. You understand? For us as women, usually when a man says sorry, we tend to, retract and say, okay, he made a mistake and blah, 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 and we'll give it. Now, if you continue pounding me and hounding me for the same nonsense that we started in the living room, from the kitchen to the living room to bathroom to bedroom, you think I'm going to give it up? No, I'm not.
Wow.
Okay, I need to jump here, Sister Sylvia. No, I will have to disagree with you on one point. Don't hold sex or food from your husband. Just like you told the women that they're not the only ones with that hole in between their legs. You know, I think we are lost, Sister Sylvia.
Yeah, we're losing her.
No, I want to say, even if the man is not tit for tat, and it's not quid pro quo. I'm not trying to get into politics here, but I'm just saying that, still cook for him. I don't want any woman to make love to any man when they don't feel like it or whatever. You're not a sex slave, but I'm just saying, don't hold the food from the man, because there are going to be people out there willing to give him the food. I just wanted to mention that point. That I don't agree with that point.
But you recall I said that from the beginning. That was my opening statement.
Yeah.
You don't hold that sex over you. I'm just saying, you cannot force a woman to make love to you. Just like you cannot, a man can force himself on a woman and get off if he wants to, okay? But a man, you cannot force a man to make love to you. If he can't get an erection, he can't get an erection. Yeah. There are ways and means too that you can still do that, and I can teach you how to do that. You understand? So those men also, they should not think that they're the only ones who can hold off. You cannot hold food. You cannot hold sex and hold food over a man's head. Like you rightly said, Reverend Pat. He'll go outside to McDonald's and eat, and you'll come back. Or you go to Sheila's house and eat. Sheila will cook him egusi and a bonu soup and whatever else. And ondole. My favorite.
Her favorite food is ndole.
Yes. So once he tastes your ndole, he's not coming back home. So these women, we need to understand that we cannot hold food. These men even know how to cook better than us women, by the way.
Some of them.
They know how to cook better than we do. And some men even clean the homes and keep the homes cleaner than we do. Exactly. It's a matter of compromise. It's a matter of compromise. But these men need to stop saying, my wife's boobs have all sagged, my wife's banana is not tight enough, my wife's butt is sagging. You can't say that you made her like that when you gave her those children. So stop all that nonsense and love her the way she is. Love her like Christ loves the church. You got married under that Bible biblical teaching. Yes, you got married under that biblical teaching. So stop all that nonsense of criticizing her. What about you, your big belly? What about you for so many years and I have not complained as a wife? But I tolerate what you give me because I'm your wife, for better for worse. So stop.
Okay, ladies, sex is not the only thing that should hold a marriage together after you say I do. There are other things that need to be discussed, that need to be worked at home. I know I'm thinking of money, I'm thinking of children, I'm thinking of in-laws. Where do these fit in the after I do, after you say I do? Where do these things fit? Money, bank account, children, yes, and then of course the understanding. I mean, just simple understanding. Where should all these things fit?
Let me jump in briefly, then I'll give the air to my beautiful sister here. You know, the love of money is the root of all evil, not money. Money is not the root of all evil, just the love of money. When the two of you become one, when you say I do, you have to say I do to everything, including bank account. It doesn't matter who is making more money. It doesn't matter who is not working. And you women, when you start making more money than your husband, please don't disrespect him.
Very true. Absolutely. Yes, I agree on that 10,000%.
Yes. Because that money cannot keep you warm at night. It might buy you the thickest comforter on the planet, but it's not the same thing as body heat. And the bank accounts need to be a joint bank accounts. If you are joining everything, there's no reason, if the two of you have become one, that everybody will have their own bank account. They are I've seen and heard several versions of this. There are some people that have one joint checking account to pay the bills, the common bills, and then everybody has their savings account. And then there are some people that have one joint savings account, and then they have separate checking account. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Why not? Because that means that there's lack of trust. Look, there are some women that are shopaholics, just like there are some men that are shopaholics. It goes both ways. But there should be a joint savings account and a joint checking account for transparency. You, the wife, need to know what. I'm not saying you should become a police. You need to know where your husband is spending money and what your husband is spending money on, and vice versa. You know, so let's not be kidding ourselves here that, oh, the two of you are one and everybody has their own bank account. Nonsense. Your money should all go into one bank account and you guys spend it. If one person doesn't know how to manage bills, let the person who is good with money management manage the bills. And then you guys can agree on how much allowance each of you should have. Believe me, money has scattered a lot of marriages more than any other thing, more than even adultery and Sister Sylvia.
Yes, truth be told, Sister Sylvia, yeah, go ahead now.
Yeah, yes. I tend to differ with Reverend Pam on that one.
Okay.
I was married once upon a time, and my husband, soul rest in peace, he died when I was a very young lady. And initially we had one joint bank account, and I realized that I was a lady who was very focused on doing projects. I wanted to show my husband, or I wanted to, even for myself, to show that I can do things without my husband. You know me very well, Reverend Pam. I'm a go-getter, I'm a fighter, and I'll do what I have to do until I get what I want to do. So I found out that every month my husband would give me $5,000, which he says, okay, take care of the house. He paid all the bills and he had a very good job, paid all the bills, do this, do that, and stuff like that. That $5,000 was for incidentals. When I put it in the account, he would ask me and say, how come the money's still in the account and you haven't used it? I said, because I don't have anything to use it for, because everything's paid for. So I noticed that he was getting irritated that I wasn't using the money that he was giving me to use. I used to work, I had my own job. As a matter of fact, both of us had very, very good jobs in corporate America. So I told him, I said, I'm a different account for this money, which I will show you what I'll do with it at a later date. He looked at me and he smiled and he says, okay, we'll see. Every month that $5,000 was going into my account plus my own savings. And in the joint account, I still put whatever I had to put. The almost 80% of it was in the joint account because we had a lot of bills that we were doing in businesses. 10 years later, when I showed my husband, And he says to me, I'm glad that you did what you did, because if this money was in our joint account, we would not have been able to accomplish what we have accomplished right now. Some of us are spendthrifts. Some of us were born with silver spoons in our mouths or platinum spoons in our mouths, and others not. So when you realize that money, for me, money has never been of value. That's the whole thing, the background that I come from. Money is money if it's there. If it's not there, keep on moving. It's not going to break or make you.
That said, we're losing you almost again. I don't know what's going on with the technical connections today. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, I can hear you now.
She's driving, but I think the husband and wife should agree on it. It's something
that's correct. Yeah, that's what I said. Yes, the husband and wife has to agree, because yes, it's not a one-stop shop. It fits everybody. Each person looks at it from a different angle, and you have your different ways of lifestyle. So looking at this, you find that the husband now, different respect. He respected me, but he had a different respect after that. So
no. I want to say something. When I'm saying that there should be joint account, you guys had a joint account. You just had a separate account for which is different. Your husband, there was transparency, so that's what I'm referring to. There was transparency.
I see. Okay.
So you guys had a joint account, and then you guys agreed on a project account. That's different.
Yes.
You know, there are couples that don't want a joint account. There should be total transparency. I know we are coming on the top of the hour. Another thing I want to bring up, Nia Song, if I may.
Yes, sure. Go ahead.
The issue of passwords, phones. I think, you know, I don't believe that the wife policing the husband's the husband's phone or vice versa, but the husband should not have any secrets on their phone. So, Sister Sylvia, we have 3 minutes at the top of the hour. What do you tell your couples about? Because me, when I do get married, and I will, my husband is going to have access to my phone. If he wants to see
there's no need. If you have nothing to hide, there's transparency. There's no need for passwords, and I believe in that strongly. And I shouldn't be having sleepless nights thinking my husband is going to put my facial recognition to my face when I'm sleeping, because I have little boyfriend's numbers in there that I'm hiding. It should be open and transparent. If you're putting I put passwords on mine because of my grandchildren. They go there and download stuff and start deleting things that are on there. If you have small children, I can understand password, but the spouse should have the copy of the password that you have. I believe very much in that. Oh, by the way, my battery is dying.
Security. Yeah, we are breaking.
There was some noise there.
I said my battery is dying, so you guys may lose me. I forgot my charger.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, let's keep going. We're moving to the top of the hour, at which time Reverend Pam will make an announcement. Then we'll continue the conversation. If we don't lose Sylvia, I would say that after the announcements, I would like for us to take the role played by in-laws after I do. Please be thinking about that.
That's a big one. Sister Sylvia, please, if there's somebody in the car with you, use their phone.
There's none. I want to see if I can get my daughter's phone when she's done driving. She's using the GPS, so I'll probably be back. I'll log in once we park.
Okay, no problem. Just stay on board. If your phone dies, we'll definitely need you on that, because these in-laws and outlaws, you know, they play the role.
The in-laws, not outlaws.
Keep the outlaws. Keep the outlaws out of
the outlaws, the bylaws,
the side laws, the uplaws.
The side laws, all the laws.
Okay.
All right. If I drop off, I'll use my daughter's line to come back in.
Okay, please. Thanks. Reverend Pam, you go ahead and connect with the top of the hour.
Yes, thank you so much. This is so wonderful. And Brother John, I'm glad you're hearing us. Please, for next Sunday, hopefully you'll fix the audio issue, because we really love to hear from you. Again, feel free to send me your comments or questions on the chat. The other person that we'll just have to encourage people to unmute when they get in. We are at the top of the hour now. This has really been, you know, amazing, very informative, and I know we're streaming on live on Facebook. So a lot of, every time we do this series, a lot of, you know, and we're coming into the Christmas season now. Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year, and there's a lot of depression, you know, in families, either financial challenges or all the So hopefully any marriage that was in trouble or in the brink of divorce, by listening to what we are sharing, especially knowing that we have a life coach like Sister Sylvia here, myself, they can reach out to us, inbox us on Facebook, and we'll definitely provide offline free, because as Africa Online Media Corporation, our motto is raising awareness about issues that affect Africa and Africans, seeking solutions to those issues, and making progress. There is the divorce rate amongst Africans, both on the continent and in the diaspora, has skyrocketed from our parents' generation. So this continues to be
yes, it has.
It continues to be an issue among our people, and we're going to keep tackling it. And I am so grateful to God that Sister Sylvia has joined our team. You know, girl, you have no idea how many lives you're going to change. Our people turn left, then turn left. Yeah, we still need IT help. I should not be the one streaming this. We still need IT. Turn left, then turn right. I'm just gonna briefly mute Sister Sylvia because of the GPS, you know, but we still need someone who can interact with our guests on Facebook. But this is being streamed live on Facebook. At the top of the hour, we're talking about next week. We're going to be talking about freedom of speech. And Ania Song, I met a young man this weekend from Rwanda. He's a journalist. He's amazing. We're going to invite him to be our guest next week with our, of course, Sister Sylvia is our regular guest, and we're going to invite others to join, but we're going to be talking about freedom of speech starting tomorrow. We know the problems with freedom of speech, you know, on the continent, you know, even journalists, even here now in this era, journalists are under attack, but especially back home. You say something that a government official doesn't like, either you disappear or your family members disappear, or you get, you know, you get sick, you know, with some unknown illness. So we're going to be talking about freedom of speech. Do we really have freedom of speech? Do we really? And with freedom of speech, there's responsibilities. The fact that you have freedom of speech, can you go into a building and shout fire? Can you just go and say that? Or can you tell lies about people? And when we talk about freedom of speech here, we're not going to just talk about verbal speech. We're going to talk about people putting nonsense stuff out there in the media, fake news, lies. You know, the fact that you have the freedom to do all that, should you really do it? So that's what we're going to be talking about starting next week. Yeah, so.
Yes, the challenges of the internet age have complicated life more than ever before. When the Canadian said that we're developing a global village, little did he know that things will get to this point where people sit in their basement and do what they like. They go and concoct things, and that is why the fake news thing has become a reality in our lives today. And so we'll be talking freedom of speech beginning tonight or tomorrow morning. And we invite you to prepare your minds and, of course, be ready to participate in that conversation. For now, the conversation is marriage after you say, I do. After you say, I do means you are jumping the broom. It means you are getting married because you have groomed that person for so long. You have dated that person for so long, or maybe for so short a time, and now you want to live your lives together under the same roof. So when you get to living together, we're discussing what should be the way of behavior. Should we hide things from each other? Should we have those honest conversations? Or should we continue to go behind and tell only our best friends the stories of things happening in our homes? The other part that we want to bring up now, the role of in-laws in a marriage. What should they do? What should in-laws do? What should you, the wife, or you, the husband, do to make sure that you and your in-laws are working hand in glove to make sure that life goes on as smoothly as we wanted it to be from the beginning? So, Reverend Pam, I know Sister Sylvia is getting ready to switch phones, but for you, on your part, what do you think about in-laws and their role in after I say I do?
Niason, thank you so much. You know, the in-laws, they play such a significant role in every marriage, unless you are getting married to somebody who is an orphan with no siblings. But even in that case, there'll still be somebody that was like family to them. I think this rests in the responsibility of primarily the man, but also the woman. And if you are getting married, you're coming, for example, in my family, I always say we're like a million, we're a clan. A clan.
A clan.
My family
Yes.
is so huge, you know. If you're coming into this family, just remember that we are a very close family. Everybody has their nuclear family and will respect people's boundary, but don't expect that you will come and you will keep either our son or daughter from family gatherings. And one thing I want to say is that I think I mentioned that when we talk about domestic violence, if you are married to somebody that wants to isolate you from your family, that is a danger sign. Danger is coming. Because when they isolate you, they're going to abuse you, whether it's verbally, emotionally, mentally, or physically, because they will know that your family is not around or your family doesn't check on you. But I want to advise the couples, when you get married, it's you and your spouse and the Lord first. And when you guys have children, that's your nuclear family. However, I want to give advice, especially to the brides or the wives. You are marrying somebody that has siblings and that have parents. Maybe they were 30 years old when you married them. For 30 years, they've had a father and a mother. Maybe 15 or 20 of those years, they've had siblings. You coming now, they've probably known you for 6 months or 1 year, and you think all of a sudden you are it. They should just forget about their parents, forget about their siblings. I'm not talking about anybody bringing their siblings or their parents into their marital home. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying there has to be a compromise. There has to be. Don't come into people's family and want to alienate them or cause confusion. There is no way. I love my siblings a lot. There's no way I'm going to stop loving my siblings because they got married to somebody. And there are some wives that are so insecure that you buy a gift for your brother, they take it personal. You buy a gift for your sister, they take it personal. So when you get into a family, you become part of a larger family. So there has to be a compromise. There has to be a balance. And there on the other side of the coin, there are in-laws that want to control the marital home of either their son or daughter, and that is totally wrong. God did not make you their supervisor or their overseer. They can give you advice, but you, the man, if you are mama's boy, please, when you have a problem with your wife, don't take it to your mother or your sisters. A wife, if you are daddy's girl, when you have a problem with your husband, don't take it to your daddy or your brothers. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Because when you start bringing family members into your marital home, that is a recipe for disaster. And when you start bringing friends or co-workers into your marital home, that is a recipe for disaster. The two of you talk it out. That's why communication is so important. If you cannot talk it out, my dear, there's always somebody who is always ready to listen and give you advice, and that's God Almighty. The first miracle that Jesus performed was at a wedding, where he converted water into wine. Take it, and that's the first institution that the Lord created. So take it to the Lord in prayer. Believe me, he has all the answers, Niason. Over to you.
Yes, indeed. It is very important for in-laws, male and female alike, to join in building a good base for the family to live together in harmony, because without that, we will be rather creating space for war, for the war, for differences to exist. We don't have to do that. We have to accept one another as we are, and we have to look forward to making sure that our sons and daughters who get married to each other live the happiest they can, because without us advising them to do the good things, we will rather be dividing. Our role should not be to divide, but to build together. I don't know, Reverend Pam, is Sister Sylvia on now? Has she been able to come back?
Wait, Sister Sylvia, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Yes. So we were talking about the role of
I'm in the store looking for a charger.
Okay, can you talk on the program?
Yes, I
can
can
you
talk.
address
Yes,
the issue
absolutely.
of in-laws, the role in-laws play in after I say I do?
Absolutely. It's important to keep the in-laws in one's family naturally, because they are the birthing parents of both sides that have come to say I do. But there comes a time that when they also have to move away and let the couple live their lives.
Yes.
The reason I say that is because when parents are involved, I'll give you an example. If my husband and I have a fight today, and my mother finds out that we have a fight, what happens? She starts to resent him too, right? And doesn't want to talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
But in the evening, when him and I make up and we go to bed, we make sweet love and everything's said and done. She doesn't know that.
Exactly.
In the morning, she'll still be very upset with my husband. She'll be hating my husband and rolling her eyes at him and not even looking at him straight. And then that starts to bother me again and say, why is my mother reacting the way she has done towards my husband? So it's always very important when you have issues, stop involving your parents as couples. You have what we call mentors like myself and Reverend Pam, and of course you, Doctor, who you can call, because every time you involve your parents or your people, the whole thing becomes a mess.
Yes.
It becomes a complete total mess. So on that note, I'm going to say that I would rather you do not involve your parents, in the marriage at all.
Okay, I have a question for Nia Song. Nia Song,
Yes.
you're one of the blessed people that have been married for more than 50 years. I like to say you've been married for more than 100 years. To the same woman, to the same wife. Share your experience, give advice to the young couples, or people, marriages that are on the brink of divorce. I am sure you've seen everything in marriage. You've been married for 50 years with 5 handsome boys. What is your secret, and what can you say to a couple that is either the 1-year-old in marriage or 30-year-old that are ready to throw in the towel?
Well, I don't think I have a script written for that. All is life experience. The first word I want to utter here is the ability to tolerate and let go. If you accepted that lady from the beginning as your wife, be ready to listen to her. A woman's voice is sometimes full of wisdom, rather than you, the man, claiming that you are the one who is always right. Be ready to listen to the woman. Be ready to hold honest conversations about what you intend to do as a family, because you are building a family. And once children start coming, please be ready to let go of those things that you think are annoying to you. Take a deep breath before you answer back, because sometimes the woman may say 20 words when you have not even said one. But be ready to be patient, to listen to her to the end. Let her present the problem. Then you, if you cannot solve it that moment, take a step out, come back later on to say, okay, I heard you. This is what I think. Together with an honest conversation, you will be able to solve the problems that are apparently coming up. Also, understanding. I mean, it's not good to listen and not understand what is meant. Never insinuate that she is saying this because that. No. Take her words for what they are and move forward. Hold the honest conversation. I keep insisting on that. Be ready to do your best, to tell your partner exactly what you think on every topic that comes up for discussion. If it is money, be honest enough to say, yes, this is what we are making, or this is what I am making. If you are the only breadwinner, let us see how we can better sit down and do this. And I believe, and I've always held on to it, that marriage is like a government. You are the president, claim that, but she is the finance minister. Give the financial responsibility to her. She will handle it better than you can imagine. You can be the best financier in the world. You can have the greatest finance knowledge, but men are always faltering insofar as money is concerned. Let her play the role of finance minister and control or check and make sure that what you are doing is for the good of the family, no matter what. Please accept her as she is, geographically, physically, whatever. If she changes, don't say, oh, I got a bag here. No. You thought you were getting a purse, but now it's a bag. So what about that? Time changes things, and you have to be ready to accept those changes, because if you don't accept the changes, you will find yourself in trouble. Personally, to tell the truth, as Reverend Pam says, some 50 years or so ago, I got married. Why? Primarily, I was going to become a journalist. I got married in my first year in the university, in the School of Journalism in Yaoundé. I got married that year because I did not want that when it becomes a broadcaster, and I knew that journalists will eventually either become famous or not famous. They may lose their partners because they think that there are more beautiful flowers in the garden than he chose. So I decided to get married so that nobody, no girl, no lady will come to me and say, oh, I want to get married to you. What I did was I got married and I told my classmates, I told my friends, this is me and I will not go out for another woman. And believe you me, in 1980, if I had had that other intention, I would have lost it, because at the CNU Congress in Bafoussam, I was Asonglefac and Nkemleke already, a household name. I never thought it was. But when I got to Bafoussam, the flood, it went from a trickle to a flood. The number of ladies that approached me directly saying it or indirectly insinuating it was just unbearable. But luckily, I stood my ground because of my faith. I trusted that who I chose was the one God had designated for me, and I said, I will resist all the temptation. Yes, I did, and I survived the Bafoussam Congress after 2 weeks, because I went to Bafoussam 1 week before and 1 week after the convention, and I was able to resist temptation and return whole and perfect to my wife in Yaoundé. So that is it. Learn to tolerate, learn to accept, learn to listen, and learn to say your word only after you have digested it. Don't let her say 10 words and you say 10 words. No, that does not augur well for a good relationship. Tolerate, listen to yourself, listen to her, and don't listen to people from outside. Advice from outside is no advice. Many of the people giving that advice may mean well, but beyond and after everything else, that advice may instead help tear down the wall that you put up. So please, tolerance is the key word that I'll continue to insist on. Reverend Palmer, I don't think I answered your question the way you wanted it, but I believe that I did my best.
You did, and that's why I was clapping for you. I want to applaud you because you made up your mind. At that young age, you were decisive in what you wanted to do. And so I grew up hearing Asonglefac Nkemleke on the radio, even though I met you for the first time on July the 6th, 2018. 3 years, 2.5 years after we started doing our volunteer work on Africa Online Media Corporation, but your name was a household name because you are a journalistic icon. And you were right.
Thank you.
God blessed you with a lot of wisdom and discernment, because not many men would have withstood that, resisted that temptation you were talking about in that CNU conference. Not many men, because you were not there with your wife.
No.
Some men could have just decided to be a male around all these women and did their thing and go back home, and their wives will never know. And see, because of that decision you made, you have stayed happily married even after 50 years. You need to be applauded. You need an award, because
thank you so much.
A lot of people cannot even last 1 year or 2 years. I don't know what the immigration limitations are now, but I know in the 80s, you had to be married for at least 2 years before they will give you your green card. Because even in this country, they know that if you can survive somebody for 2 years, then it's for real. But what you're saying is so true. It's a decision you made.
It's a decision.
I'm sure there are still people that will still be wanting you, not because they care about you, they love you, but there's still temptation out there. So hopefully our brothers are listening, our sisters are listening. It has to be a decision, because the grass is not greener on the other side.
Not at all. Not at all.
When you get there, you'll find out. Yes. There's a proverb in Cameroon in Pidgin. I'm not an expert in Pidgin, but it said, new broom, they sweep better than old broom, but the new broom doesn't know all the corners of the house. Again, like
the old broom is the one that knows the corners of the house.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I try to shy away from Pidgin because I don't have a good command of the Pidgin language, but I think, our listeners will get what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
It is, I've seen situations where men in particular, have been distracted, and they go out there and they realize that, what they thought, was greener. It was really actually black, just wearing a green jacket.
Yes.
And then they can come back to the wife.
That's right. Yes.
Some of them come back and the wives will take them, but then that it just destroyed the trust. So please, whatever it is, seek help. I keep telling people, go to the Lord. He has the answers. Go to the Lord. And one thing I want to share, Nia Song, and thank you for taking that question. Another thing with the men is a lot of you go throughout the day, don't even call to check on your wife, don't even tell them you love them. You wait until 11 p.m. at night or midnight when you need help. That's when all of a sudden the wife looks beautiful. Some of you don't even take the time to tell them they are beautiful. You don't even make love to your wife. You just have sex. You treat them like a sex slave. So Nia Song, what is your take on that?
No, I mean, you have to be each other's keeper, each other's lover. You have to trust each other. Do it with your whole heart. Don't do it because you felt a need for it. Do it because you love that person. My video is not on. Yeah, I was checking up on our website.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, okay. Yeah, so please don't do it just because you have the feeling. Do it because you want to share that love in you, that you want to be partners in a relationship. And don't go for it just because you are itchy to have it. Do it because you really intend for you and her to be together, to live and share that moment together. Because it is only those moments that count more than anything else. Eating on the table is not as dear, as endearing as being in that bed, huddled up together and warming each other up. Please stay close, stick with one another, and don't do it just because you came back from work and you had seen that beautiful girl who made you have the urge. No, do it because of her, for who she is and for who she has been to you. Reverend Pam.
Yeah, thank you, Nia Song. And I want to also encourage our brothers and sisters. A lot of African women have postpartum depression that remain undiagnosed. There are some men that once their wives get pregnant or just have a baby.
Sorry, guys, I'm back now.
Okay, good.
Welcome back.
A minute. Okay, they start looking somewhere. So, Sister Sylvia, those men that when their wives get pregnant or are nursing, get turned off by whatever, and they start looking outside. What is your advice for those men and also for the wives?
They shouldn't do that. You know, it's funny that you asked that question because I was going to ask you guys what your opinion was. You know that there's some men right now who prefer to drink their children's milk from their mummy's breast. You know that?
They should stop eating the children's milk.
Yeah, they take their wife's breast instead of the children taking the breast milk from the mommy. The parents, I mean the fathers, are asking. They're saying because that milk has I can't remember the biological term. You know the how do you call it? The things that make you immune to most of these illnesses or sicknesses.
Oh, okay, either antioxidants or antibodies.
Yeah, those. Yes. So those men who are shunning their wives, they're very foolish. They're the same men who are going to come back when that child is born. Oh, my son, oh, my daughter, all this and that, and all this and that. But right now they're shunning their wives. Who do they think made their wives like that? You put her in that position, you put her in that condition, you need to nurture her and respect and love her. As a matter of fact, when women are pregnant, this is when they're very vulnerable. They need to feel the complete love. They need to feel the complete attention from the men that put them in that position. These men don't know that women who are pregnant are very sexually active most of the time. Unless, of course, they have let me say, a biological condition that prevents them from doing so. Because they're those little hormones that are raging from left to right, east, west, north, and south. And then these men want to shun their wives and go give the goodies to these 16 and 18-year-olds. Well, I'll tell you what. One day your turn will come when your stuff will stop working and your wife will be looking to be satisfied by the 32-year-olds.
Okay, we get you right, Reverend Pam. Now, as we begin to go towards the end of the program, have we covered all the territory? I believe so. If not, what next? How long should it take before you and her decide that, oh, let us now, the children are all gone, the nest is empty. How should you two live your lives when the children are gone? After you said, and I do many years ago, now you're only two of you again, as you were on day one. What should be the behavior like when there are only two of you left in the house?
Okay, I want to share this, and I want Sister Sylvia to weigh in because we have just 6 minutes left.
Yes.
One of the issues that we also find as a problem is religion, where to worship.
Yes.
There are marriages that have broken because either the wife is of one faith and the husband is another faith. But I'm sure during courtship, you knew that this man was either a Muslim or a Christian or an atheist or not going to church or whatever. Religion plays a very important role. These are things that people need to agree on before they get married. And when you get in, I don't advise people to worship separately. Husband and wife should worship together as a family. So we have situations where some people might agree before they get married. After they get married, the one person stops going to church or don't want to worship with the other person. So, Sister Sylvia, I want you to weigh in on this religious issue after people get married. Where do they worship? And if some people agree that I've seen a situation where a Christian married a Muslim and that Muslim converted to Christianity, and then a few years after the marriage, the female decided that they want to go back to their Muslim, they miss the mosque or whatever. So, Sister Sylvia, I want you to weigh in on this religious, issue. After you say I do.
All right. Even last week, I think we touched a little bit on this one, where the religious marriages have become very, very common now. It's almost a norm where you'll find that people from different beliefs are becoming one.
You know your video is off, right? Sister Sylvia, your video is off.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Oh, hold on. So sorry. Oh, well. So I was trying to hook myself back on and I couldn't tell which is which anymore.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. We just want to see your beautiful face and your red hair.
Sorry, I was plugging everything in so I could be back live online. So I turned it off so that my phone wasn't up and down.
That's fine.
Yeah. So what I was saying is, my take on this is I have noticed that a lot of Christians and Muslims are marrying one another. And last week's discussion as well touched a little bit on religion, where I talked about a couple that I know that we married off. The woman was Christian and the gentleman was Muslim. So before they needed to make sure that they understand that once children are born, relationship is 50-50. 50 Muslim.
Oh, there's a problem there.
Yeah,
Freezing.
Audio. Yeah, she's in the car.
Okay. Go ahead.
A promissory note was, I told them to sign a promissory note stating that once we get married, that the children will be half Christian and half Muslim. The girl said, oh, no, it's okay, Auntie Sylvia. It's okay, Auntie Sylvia. He's agreed and blah, blah, blah. We agree on everything. The man told me to my face, my children will be, is it Friday, I think, when they go to the mosque?
Friday.
With me. Yeah, Fridays, yes. They go to the mosque with me. And then on Sunday, or Saturday, whichever denomination the woman was going to, they can go to church with her. I don't have a problem with it. He said that in front of all of us.
Oh, God.
No sooner had this girl married him, he used to go to church with her on Sundays. Then she would go to the mosque on Fridays. The day they said I do, guess what? He put that outfit, tahabai,
the jihad, that veil.
Yeah, the veil, yes, the veil over her head. So when she came to visit me, she was all changed up like a Muslim. I was like, wait a minute.
What's
She's
going
like,
on here?
I said, Auntie, it's a long story. I said, no, it can't be a long story. Make it short. We had a discussion about this stuff. Now make it short. So they got into having 3 beautiful children. They've got 2 girls and 1 boy now. As soon as the baby was born, he stopped her from going to church, the Christian church. He told her it was either Muslim or nothing at all. He's the head of the household. It's my house. You have my name. I don't wear your name. So it's my way or the highway. And this girl is deeply in love with this man. The babies were born. He takes them to the mosque on Fridays. She cannot take the children to church on Sundays.
Deceptive.
So it became a problem for us as even though we're not biological family, but when you're here, like you now, my brother and my sister, we look out for each other and we support what each other does. She became very miserable in this marriage till today. They have now 3 kids together. So what she does, believe it or not, and I hate to bust her out like this, she sneaks out on Sundays to go to church.
That's a shame.
No, you cannot hide to profess your faith.
A very big shame. And she cannot take the kids because he knows that she's sneaking out, but he tells her Sunday kids go nowhere. That's how he's made it. Because he knows that any time of the day, Sunday, whether it's morning, evening, dinner, lunch, there's some churches who are open, that are open.
Yeah.
So her Christian life, or rather her worship life, has become very miserable. Now, when she comes and visits some of us, she just kills herself in worship. I mean, she's just a totally different girl altogether. Because now she's free to worship and to praise her God, the Lord her God, her way. But in the house, she's not happy because she cannot hold hands with her husband and pray. She cannot hold hands with her own children and pray. She has to sneak these prayers when she says, when I'm giving them a bath, that's when now I say my Christian prayers and lay hands over my children's heads. And when they go to sleep, when my husband is home, because I think he's a truck driver. Sometimes when he goes away, but he's always back on Thursday to make sure Friday he goes to the mosque and he leaves Monday morning so that Sunday she doesn't take children.
Oh, Lord. Well,
okay, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Yes, Sister Sylvia, your last word on after you say I do.
Well, after I say I do, I think as families, in-laws, please mind your own business and let your children live their lives. You had your chance to live your lives. You were husband and wife for I don't know how umpteen years, happily married. Leave your children to live their lives alone. You men who want to stray, remember, the grass is never greener out there. You women who want to frolic and go and practice bedmatics with those 32, whatever year-old boys when you're 60, stop being cougars. Stop being a cougar. Act your age. Act your age as being a grandmother.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We are caught by time. Reverend Palm, your last word. Thank you, Sylvia, so much.
No, Sylvia, thank you so much. I've been so blessed. And all I will say, when you say I do, after you say I do, make sure you do. And God, make Jesus the foundation of your marriage. If you're not a Christian, make God the foundation of your marriage and stick to it. Make sure you do. The grass is not greener on the other side. Yeah,
thank you so much. And before we go, this breaking news: Bolivian President Evo Morales has resigned amid turmoil following the disputed elections that took place in his country last month. The results were not certified by the Organization of Central American States, and he had no choice but to go because even the military were calling on him to resign. So he has resigned, and the vice president has equally resigned. So Bolivia, we are watching the situation as it unfolds. That said, next week, freedom of speech on Africa Media Corporation Online, Africa Online Media Corporation, rather. And I thank you, Sister Sylvia. Thank you, Reverend Palm. We are in this together. Please, let's make a beautiful week. And thank you very much. Happy Sunday.
Thank you.
Goodbye.